Yes, good morning, students. And today also we're going to continue with the next part of Lost Spring. And if you remember the first part, can you tell me what it was about? What did we discuss in the first part of Lost Spring? Yes, who's the boy whose life we had discussed? Can you tell me the name of the boy? Yes? Turn on your videos. Sahib Alam. Yes, his name was Sahib Alam. And what did Sahib Alam do? Yes, as a young boy, what did he do? How did he spend his childhood? Yes, he spent his childhood rag picking. Yes, correct. And why did, were these people always rag pickers? Why had they become rag pickers? Circumstances had forced them to become rag pickers. So they had left their land behind, their country behind, and they had come to live over here in the area of, what is the name of the area where they lived? Yes. Where were these rag pickers? Simapuri. And where is Simapuri? Where is Simapuri? Simapuri is on the outskirts of Delhi. Yes, it's on the periphery of Delhi. Exactly, Smriti. Please open your books, look at your books in front of you and just look for the answers over there, right? And I would really appreciate if you could turn on your videos, at least and see what you are doing. I'd like to see my bright young students here. Yes, I forgot what you look like. How do I know? I won't recognize you if we meet. Yeah, so I'd like to see you. Varun, Abhishek, Ankit, Mayank, all of you. Yes, ma'am, would love to see you all. And I would really appreciate if you turn on your videos. No, ma'am, we can't turn on our videos. So please be properly dressed up and sit for your classes. I think so that's a basic rule which you all should follow. You should look smart, attentive, and sit in a proper place to take your classes, right? You're not in a small class now, you're in class 12. So enjoy this last year of school that you have, okay, right? And yes, yeah. So what about the area where they lived? It was Simapuri. And how many rag pickers were there? There were more than 10,000 rag pickers living over there. Yeah, and the conditions that they lived in, they were very unhygienic. There were temporary hutments over there, and there was no, like basic facility of sewage or water or no cleanliness at all. But what was it that these people got that made them continue rag picking? What was it that these people got? They got grains. How did they get these grains, Smriti? Yes, how did they get these grains? They got these grains because they had ration cards. And yes, so there, yeah, the ration card, it gave them yes, they had because of the ration card, they were able to get these grains. And what did the elders think? They said, no, never mind if we don't have an identity. Never mind if people don't know where we have come from or who I am. But as long as I have grains, as long as I have food, and I do not sleep on an empty stomach, so the ration card is all they need, right? And they continue in this. The young boys, they go there scrounging through the garbage, looking for things. What are the things they find in the garbage? Why has garbage been compared to gold? What is the gold they find? It's a hyperbole, like, yes, this manner of writing here, this speech here, you can't compare garbage to gold. But because of the circumstances, because of the situation, these young boys, they think for them it is gold because it is full of wonders, it is full of surprises. What are the things they're able to find? They're able to find a coin, they're able to find a 10 rupee note. And when you keep on finding such things, someone has thrown it along with their things over there in the garbage. So they never give up. They keep on going through the garbage and looking for these things there, right? Yes. Now, at the end of this part, we notice a change about Sahib. What is the change that has happened now? What's the change that has happened in Sahib? Yes. Where is he working now? Is he scrounging the garbage at the end of this part? The first part? Where is he? He's working at a tea stall now. And how is his life better? How has his life become better? Because he's going to have a regular salary. He's working there at the month. He'll be getting that 800 rupees plus he's getting the meals over there, right? But what has changed in his life? What has he lost? What has he lost now? Yes, so yeah, he is working at a tea stall. He's carrying that canister. What has he lost? He has lost his freedom. Sahib is no longer his master. What did he carry earlier? Earlier, he carried that bag, like, of course, the garbage bag, collect the garbage. But now he has a tea canister. Right? Then we also read about that how generations are there, confined to poverty, and we have an excuse to explain this way they are behaving. So why they're barefoot, why they behave like this? So we blame that poverty on their traditions. Given a choice, given a chance, these people would want to change the situation. They would want to change their circumstances. Sahib has, at the cost of losing his freedom. Right? Yes. So Sahib has lost his freedom, but yeah, he's getting money, he's getting a regular income, and that is more important to him. Fine. So this is the first part about Sahib Alam, a rag picker from the slum of Simapuri. Right? Yes. Now let's come to the next part. I had shared a video with you all regarding the lives of the bangle makers of Firozabad. Did you watch it? Did you all watch it? Yes, we did. Okay. So what did you see over there? The bangle makers. The second part that we are going to read about, it's about the lives of the children in the bangle making industry. We know many industries employ children working as child labor, right? And it is not only the children there, but the elders have also been working in those industries, right? And yes, what about the working conditions? Where do you think, what industries are there where children are employed? So whether it is bangle making, whether it's carpet making, whether it is making of crackers. So you even have, you have the tobacco rolling, that is there. So we have many places where the children are employed. What kind of environment are they exposed to? Yes. What kind of environment do you think these children are exposed to? It's a harmful environment, right? And the consequences, yes, here absolutely, it's a dangerous and unsafe environment. And we see the consequences of that environment on their health, on their outlook towards life. And when they are there, like working as bangle makers for generations. Now here, in the first part, we had read about the rag pickers because of their circumstances. Now in the second part, we're going to discuss about the lives of the bangle makers and how they do not want to change, or they cannot change because of it is tradition. Right? They think it is a God-given lineage that they have to follow. We can't change this. Right? So we were born as bangle makers. How can we do anything else? And this thinking, it leads to, once again, what does it lead to? It leads to poverty. Right? It leads to these circumstances from which these children cannot escape. Right? Am I clear? Yes. So bangle making here, it is a tradition. People are born into the caste of bangle makers. And we know here in our country, in our society, caste is a very prominent factor, dividing the social system along various lines. And some traditions have been there, some occupations have been there, which have been followed from generation to the next. Some people have changed because the circumstances allowed them to change, right? But in other cases, they carry on with that. Why? Because they are caught in this web of poverty from which they are unable to escape. Now, when we look at bangles, it is, yes, a very important part of our lives. For an Indian woman, bangles have a very special place, right? Yes, so we look at these beautiful bangles everywhere. And yes, so even young girls also, they love to match the bangles with the dresses. And many places, yes, it is very important for married women to wear bangles. It's a sign of their marriage status, suhag, you know, right? So here, when we look at these beautiful bangles, colorful ones with glass on them, with all that work on them, have we ever wondered about the circumstances, the situation where these people have to work, right? Difficult life we had. I showed you the video and you saw how they work on the furnaces. You saw the furnaces? Yes. You saw how they mold the glass with that fire? Yes. And how the bangles are joined in the end? Right? So we're going to read this part now. And as we read it, we're going to realize that how these children have lost their childhood. Once again, it is tradition, which is keeping them in poverty. First instance of Sahib, it's about circumstances. Second instance of Mukesh, we're going to read about, and Mukesh is there because of his tradition, right? It is there, the generations, they have been working as bangle makers, so they cannot think of changing that. They can't think of going out of that because they feel there's nothing else they can do. And Firozabad is a place famous for bangles. Everywhere you go, you see bangles. Everywhere you go, you see people working, right? Fine. Now here, when we talk about rag picking, that was freedom, choice this boys had made. They went to the garbage because, yes, their parents had nothing else to do. So they scrounged the garbage for some kind of things to sell, right? Or money that they were able to buy. Here it is a situation that is forced on them. How can they escape? Can they dare to dream? And if they dare to dream, will they be able to realize their dreams? Okay? How can children come out of such situations? Yes? Anybody? Can you tell me how children can come out of such situations? How can we bring about a change in these circumstances? Do you think these people who are working under such dangerous conditions, do they have a proper gear to wear, that safety gear? Do you think they're going to get the medical insurance? What about the health issues they face? No, so they're not going to get that, right? But still they work under these various, or you can see these very dangerous conditions. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen with you all and let's come to the second part. So the first part is about Sahib-e-Alam. The second part is about, what's the second part about? It's about Mukesh, right? I want to drive a car. We don't think it as something very big. It's something that we take for granted. Yeah, as I grow, I will be able to drive a car. And yes, so we think of it as something that is going to happen as we grow up. Like, yeah, I'm going to drive. Mukesh insists on being his own master. Please note down, underline this. Mukesh insists on being his own master. His own master? What will happen when he is own master? He will be able to control his life. He will have freedom. He will have the right to make his own decisions. I will be a motor mechanic, he announces. Do you know anything about cars? I ask. I will learn to drive a car, he answers, looking straight into my eyes. So do you know anything about cars? You know, you want to drive a car. Have you seen the car? Do you know anything about the car? How you drive it? He says, I will learn. Like naturally, to be a motor mechanic, you should know about the parts of the car. You should know about, you know, like how you're going to drive it also, what goes wrong and what can go wrong, right? He answers, looking straight into my eyes. His dream looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that fill his town, Firozabad, famous for its bangles. His dream, it's like a hallucination, like it is something that is not going to become real. Amidst the dust of streets, so streets of this town of Firozabad, they filled with dust, and yes, which is very famous for its bangles. So like everywhere, like it is very difficult. You know what he's seeing? It is just a hallucination. It is just an illusion, something that cannot be real. Okay. Every other family in Firozabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass blowing industries, where families have spent generations working around furnaces, welding glass, making bangles for all the women in the land, it seems. Right? So here when we look at it, what is Firozabad famous for? Can you tell me what is Firozabad famous for? It is famous for glass bangles. Everywhere you go, you see bangles over there. You see even, you know, like glass work over there. So it's famous for the glass work, right? And it is the center of India's glass blowing industry, where families have spent generations working around furnaces, welding glass, making bangles for all the women in the land. It seems the whole of India gets the bangles from Firozabad. They are so abundant. Mukesh's family is among them. None of them know that it is illegal for children like him to work in the glass furnaces with high temperatures, in dingy cells without air and light, that the law, if enforced, could get him and all those 20,000 children out of the hot furnaces where they slog the daylight hours, often losing the brightness of their eyes. Such a long sentence, right? So here Mukesh, like many other children, like many of his family, like many elders before him, they have worked in this industry, right? These dingy cells, these small cells, small spaces where the furnaces are under high temperatures, and they do not know that there's a law that says it is illegal for children to work under such circumstances. And 20,000 children could be freed from there. 20,000 children would get out of those dangerous conditions, right? And yes, what happens to many of these children as a result of working in these situations, as a result of working in these conditions? They often lose the brightness of their eyes. Why do you think that happens? Yes, why do you think it happens that the children lose the brightness of their eyes? You've seen the mechanic, right? So when he does that welding, he's put something to cover his face. Yes or no? Yes? You look at the mechanics there, you see other people also, they wear this gear over their face to protect themselves, right? So the sparks to save themselves from. What about these children? Do you think they're given such safety equipment? Are they given such safety equipment? No. Then what happens as a result of it? They lose the eyesight at a very young age. And at a very young age, they come and join this industry. Yes, right. Yeah, Manpreet, because of the bright light of the furnaces. So very high temperatures they work in, and a very bright light. These are small rooms where they work, where the furnaces are there. There's no light proper there, and at very high temperatures they're working. And high temperatures, you're constantly exposed to, it causes a lot of damage to your skin. It causes a lot of damage to you, right? And of course, naturally, the light which is coming there from those furnaces, as they blow the glass, as they join the bangles, it is going to be quite dangerous. So there are 20,000 children and they don't know. It is illegal for them to work. And they are not aware of so many things. But the people who own these industries, they carry on exploiting children. And as a result, what happens? We talk about the lost childhood of these children. They work under such dangerous circumstances that the childhood is somewhere lost over here, right? Mukesh's eyes beam as he volunteers to take me home, which he proudly says is being rebuilt. So Mukesh takes him to his home, right? The narrator, we walk down stinking lanes choked with garbage, past homes that remain hovels with crumbling walls, wobbly doors, no windows, crowded with families of humans and animals coexisting in a primeval state. So just see here, what is the area where Mukesh lives? Is it hygienic? Is it a clean area? Is his home a proper home? So what about his home? There are crumbling walls, there are wobbly doors, there are no windows, and humans and animals coexist side by side. They're living together in all that stink, in all that garbage, in all that, you can say, filth, right? And Mukesh is very proudly taking the narrator to show him his home. At least he has a home, he's going to say. He stops at the door of one such house, bangs a wobbly iron door with his foot. Wobbly kya hota hai? What is wobbly? Shaking. It's not fixed properly. Okay? He bangs it with his foot. It's a shaky door and pushes it open. We enter a half-built shack. So it's not completely built. Shack, it's not, like a permanent structure. In one part of it, thatched with dead grass, is a firewood stove, over which sits a large vessel of sizzling spinach leaves. So in one corner, which is thatched, there's a firewood stove. Ek chula hai aur uske upar kya hai? There's this vessel of sizzling spinach leaves. On the ground, in large aluminium platters, are more chopped vegetables. So yes, sir, the meal is being cooked. A frail young woman is cooking the evening meal for the whole family. A very thin, delicate woman is there. She's cooking the meal. Through eyes filled with smoke, she smiles. She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother. Not much older in years, she has begun to command respect as the Bahu, the daughter-in-law of the house, already in charge of 3 men, her husband Mukesh and their father. When the older man enters, she gently withdraws behind the broken wall and brings a veil closer to her face. As custom demands, daughters-in-law must veil their faces before male elders. Despite long years of hard labor, first as a tailor, then a bangle maker, he has failed to renovate a house, send his 2 sons to school. All he has managed to do is teach them what he knows, the art of making bangles. So what have we learned about Mukesh's family? Yes? What have we learned about Mukesh's family here? Where does his family work? Where does his family work? They work in the bangle making industry. How is Mukesh different from them? Does Mukesh want to continue working over there? What is it that Mukesh wants to do? Yes? What is it that Mukesh wants to do? He wants to become a motor mechanic, right? Does he know how to drive a car? No. How is he going to realize this dream? Where is his life confined? His life is confined in the bangle making industry. What is the situation of the people who work over there? What is the condition of the people working over there? What about his home? Is it a permanent structure? Is it in a hygienic place? What about hygiene, sanitation? No, nothing. Can you describe his house? Can you describe his house? Where he lives? So Mukesh very proudly takes the narrator to his house, and as they walk through the streets, they find the area that they live, it's not hygienic, it's not healthy, and it is there, the animals and the human beings, they are coexisting side by side, right? So they're living together. The door is wobbly. It is a half-built shack. One area, there's a thatched roof, and under it, what is the lady of the house doing? She's cooking the meals, right? And when she sees the men coming, what does she do? She covers her face with a veil. So traditions here very strong over here. You cannot change your occupation. You have to carry on working in the bangle making industry. You are there confined to a life of poverty, but you can't dream to come out of it. You can't dare to change your circumstances. But here we come across one young boy. Who's that young boy? Mukesh. He has a dream. Will he be able to realize it? Will he be able to come out of this poverty his family is confined to? Yes, he can. He has a dream. If he works hard, he can realize it, right? But what about his circumstances? What about his conditions?